Welcome to this new episode of our captivating series, where we delve into the world of esteemed authors who've journeyed to Morocco and shared their thoughts in the form of books and articles. In each episode, we'll immerse you in their literary works, explore their unique perspectives on life in Morocco, and present insightful excerpts from their writings. If you're captivated by this concept, make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for more on our YouTube channel. Imagine stepping back in time to the early 20th century, where the Pulitzer Prize-winning author Edith Wharton embarked on an enchanting journey to the captivating land of Morocco. Edith Wharton, known for her literary masterpiece, The Age of Innocence, ventured into a world so vivid and mysterious that she couldn't help but be enthralled. In 1917, at the invitation of General Lyautey, Edith Wharton set foot in Morocco. This journey sparked her imagination and awakened her sense of wonder. She immersed herself in the culture, delved into the rich history, and marveled at the splendor of the Moroccan landscape. In her book, aptly titled In Morocco, Wharton captures the essence of this remarkable land. She wrote, "Morocco is too curious, too beautiful, too rich in landscape and architecture, and above all, too much of a novelty, not to attract one of the mainstreams of spring travel." Her words reflect the allure that drew her to Morocco's exotic charm and its vibrant tapestry of traditions. Wharton's keen eye also fixated on the mesmerizing Moroccan architecture with its intricate ornaments and designs that were nothing short of a visual feast. She compared the experience of visiting Morocco to turning the pages of some illuminated Persian manuscript, all embroidered with bright shapes and subtle lines. In this video, we invite you to embark on a captivating journey through Episode 2, aptly titled The Roman Ruins of Volubilis. Within its pages, the author eloquently recounts her adventure from Rabat to the Roman ruins of Volubilis in Morocco. Her words paint a vivid picture of the enchanting African dawn, where the morning light transforms the landscape into something reminiscent of a Persian miniature. In this passage, she skillfully highlights the stark contrast between the arid, waterless desert and the small villages that grace the riverbanks. Notably, the author shares a remarkable encounter with a group of pilgrims en route to Salé, who selflessly came to her aid when her vehicle got stuck. As the narrative unfolds, we follow the author's journey to Volubilis, the sole substantial Roman colony unearthed in Morocco. Despite the wear and tear of time and the pilfering by Sultan Moulay Ismail for the construction of Meknes, these ruins still exude an aura of ancient history and wonder. The author reflects on the juxtaposition of two worlds, the lifeless Roman remnants, representing a bygone era, and the untouched Muslim city of Moulay Idris nearby. The passage culminates with the author's admiration of a well-preserved bronze sluhi, African hound, at Volubilis, and her time spent in the warm company of the custodian, Monsieur Louis Châtelain. Throughout, the passage beautifully captures the ethereal beauty of Moroccan landscapes, the intermingling of history and culture, and the resilience of ancient ruins against the relentless march of time and transformation. So, we invite you to sit back, relax, and join us on this enthralling journey through Episode 2, The Roman Ruins of Volubilis by Edith Wharton.
One day before sunrise, we set out from Rabat for the ruins of Roman Volubilis. From the ferry of the Bou-Regreg, we looked backward on a last vision of orange ramparts under a night blue sky sprinkled with stars. Ahead, over gardens still deep in shadow, the walls of Salé were passing from drab to peach color in the eastern glow. Dawn is the romantic hour in Africa. Dirt and dilapidation disappear under a pearly haze, and a breeze from the sea blows away the memory of fetid markets and sordid heaps of humanity. At that hour, the old Moroccan cities look like the ivory citadels in a Persian miniature, and the fat shopkeepers riding out to their vegetable gardens like princes sallying forth to rescue captive maidens. Our way led along the high road from Rabat to the modern port of Kenitra, near the ruins of the Phoenician colony of Mehedaya. Just north of Kenitra, we struck the trail, branching off eastward to a European village on the light railway between Rabat and Fez, and beyond the railway sheds and flat-roofed stores, the wilderness began, stretching away into clear distances bounded by the hills of the Rarb, above which the sun was rising, the high plateau and hill formation between Tangier and Fez. Range after range, these translucent hills rose before us. All around, the solitude was complete. Village life, and even tent life, naturally gathers about a riverbank or a spring, and the waste we were crossing was of waterless sand bound together by a loose desert growth. Only an abandoned well curb here and there cast its blue shadow on the yellow bled, or a saint's tomb hung like a bubble between sky and sand. The light had the preternatural purity which gives a foretaste of mirage. It was the light in which magic becomes real, and which helps to understand how, to people living in such an atmosphere, the boundary between fact and dream perpetually fluctuates. The sand was scored with tracks and ruts innumerable, for the road between Rabat and Fez is traveled not only by French government motors, but by native caravans and trains of pilgrims to and from the sacred city of Moulay Idris, the founder of the Idrisite dynasty, whose tomb is in the Zerhoun, the mountain ridge above Volubilis. To untrained eyes, it was impossible to guess which of the trails one ought to follow, and without much surprise, we suddenly found the motor stopping, while its wheels spun round vainly in the loose sand. The military chauffeur was not surprised either, nor was Captain Diem, the French staff officer who accompanied us. "It often happens just here," they admitted philosophically. "When the general goes to Mainis, he is always followed by a number of motors, so that if his own is stuck, he may go on in another." This was interesting to know, but not particularly helpful, as the general and his motors were not traveling our way that morning, nor was anyone else apparently. It is curious how quickly the bled empties itself to the horizon if one happens to have an accident in it. But we had learned our lesson between Tangier and Rabat, and were able to produce a fair imitation of the fatalistic smile of the country. The officer remarked cheerfully that somebody might turn up, and we all sat down in the bled. A Berber woman, cropping up from nowhere, came and sat beside us. She had the thin, sun-tanned face of her kind, brilliant eyes touched with kohl, high cheekbones, and the exceedingly short upper lip which gives such charm to the smile of the young nomad women. Her dress was the usual faded cotton shift, hooked on the shoulders with brass or silver clasps, still the antique fibulae, and wound about with a vague drapery in whose folds a brown baby wriggled. The coolness of dawn had vanished, and the sun beat down from a fierce sky. The village on the railway was too far off to be reached on foot, and there were probably no mules there to spare. Nearer at hand, there was no sign of help, not a fortified farm, or even a circle of nomad tents. It was the unadulterated desert, and we waited. Not in vain, for after an hour or two, from far off in the direction of the hills, there appeared an army with banners. We stared at it unbelievingly. The mirage, of course. We were too sophisticated to doubt it, and tales of Sunday's travelers mocked by such visions rose in our well-stocked memories. The chauffeur thought otherwise. "Good. That's a pilgrimage from the mountains. They're going to Salé to pray at the tomb of the Marabout. Today is his feast day." And so they were. And as we hung on their approach and speculated as to the chances of their stopping to help, I had time to note the beauty of this long train winding toward us under party-colored banners. There was something celestial, almost diaphanous, in the hundreds of figures turbaned and draped in white, marching slowly through the hot, colorless radiance over the hot, colorless sand. The most part were on foot, or bestriding tiny donkeys, but a stately caïd rode alone at the end of the line on a horse saddled with crimson velvet, and to him our officer appealed. The caïd courteously responded, and 20 or 30 pilgrims were ordered to harness themselves to the motor and haul it back to the trail, while the rest of the procession moved hieratically onward. I felt scruples at turning from their path even a fraction of this pious company, but they fell to with a saintly readiness, and before long the motor was on the trail. Then rewards were dispensed, and instantly those holy men became a prey to the darkest passions. Even in this land of contrasts, the transition from puce serenity to rapacious rage can seldom have been more rapid. the devotees of the Marabout Faut screamed, tore their garments, and rolled over each other with sanguinary gestures in the struggle for our pesetas. Then, perceiving our indifference, they suddenly remembered their religious duties, scrambled to their feet, tucked up their flying draperies, and raced after the tail end of the procession. Through a golden heat haze, we struggled onto the hills. The country was fallow, and in great part too sandy for agriculture, but here and there we came on one of the deep-set Moroccan rivers, with a reddish-yellow course channeled between perpendicular banks of red earth, and marked by a thin line of verdure that widened to fruit gardens wherever a village had sprung up. We traversed several of these sedentary villages, Noor walls of clay houses with thatched conical roofs, in gardens of fig, apricot, and pomegranate that must be so many pink and white paradises after the winter rains. One of these villages seemed to be inhabited entirely by blacks, big friendly creatures who came out to tell us by which trail to reach the bridge over the Yellow Oud. In the Oud, their womenkind were washing the variegated family rags. They were handsome blue-bronze creatures, bare to the waist, with tight black astrakhan curls and firmly sculptured legs and ankles, and all around them, like a swarm of gnats, danced countless jolly pickaninnies, naked as lizards, with the spindle legs and globular stomachs of children fed only on cereals. Half terrified but wholly interested, these infants buzzed about the motor while we stopped to photograph them, and as we watched their antics, we wondered whether they were the descendants of the little Sudanese boys whom the founder of Meknès, the terrible Sultan Moulay Ismail, used to carry off from beyond the Atlas and bring up in his military camps to form the nucleus of the Black Guard, which defended his frontiers. We were on the line of travel between Meknès and the sea, and it seemed not unlikely that these Noor walls were all that remained of scattered outposts of Moulay Ismail's legionaries. After a time, we left Aweds and villages behind us and were in the mountains of the Rarb, toiling across a high sandy plateau. Far off, a fringe of vegetation showed promise of shade and water, and at last, against a pale mass of olive trees, we saw the sight which, at whatever end of the world one comes upon it, wakes the same sense of awe, the ruin of a Roman city. Volubilis, called by the Arabs the Castle of the Pharaohs, is the only considerable Roman colony so far discovered in Morocco. It stands on the extreme ledge of a high plateau, backed by the mountains of the Zerhoun. Below the plateau, the land drops down precipitately to a narrow river valley green with orchards and gardens, and in the neck of the valley, where the hills meet again, the conical white town of Moulay Idris, the sacred city of Morocco, rises sharply against a wooded background. So the two dominations look at each other across the valley. One, the lifeless Roman ruin, representing a system, an order, a social conception that still run through all our modern ways. The other, the untouched Moslem city, more dead and sucked back into an unintelligible past than any broken architrave of Greece or Rome. Volubilis seems to have had the extent and wealth of a great military outpost, such as Timgad in Algeria, but in the 17th century, it was very nearly destroyed by Moulay Ismail, the Sultan of the Black Guard, who carried off its monuments piecemeal to build his new capital of Meknès, that Meknès of contemporary travelers, which was held to be one of the wonders of the age. Little remains to Volubilis in the way of important monuments, only the fragments of a basilica, part of an arch of triumph erected in honor of Caracalla, and the fallen columns and architraves which strew the path of Rome across the world. But its site is magnificent, and as the excavation of the ruins was interrupted by the war, it is possible that subsequent search may bring forth other treasures comparable to the beautiful bronze slushie, the African hound, which is now its principal possession. It was delicious, after 7 hours of travel under the African sun, to sit on the shady terrace where the curator of Volubilis, Monsieur Louis Chatelain, welcomes his visitors. The French fine arts have built a charming house with gardens and pergolas for the custodian of the ruins, and have found in Monsieur Chatelain an archaeologist so absorbed in his task that as soon as conditions permit, every inch of soil in the circumference of the city will be made to yield up whatever secrets it hides.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. For more information about Morocco, visit our website morocconation.com.